everybody's seen the glitzy glamour launch of the ST7, but right now, 2 weeks before Christmas, I'm proud to announce that it's finally here. Patriot #1 is still sitting in my barn at home, and I'm down there most weekends mucking around with stuff. And even last weekend, Ash and I were down there for a day. We're working on a little project that we've got at home, and Patriot 1's in the corner, and that was actually on Sunday, and then walk in on Monday morning and walk into ST7. You know, the timeline of everything that's happened between Patriot #1 to ST7, who would have ever thought that Patriot Campers would be producing products like that? And there's one common denominator there. We've always had the best people. We've always found the best people. We've lost a lot of good people. We've seen a lot of good people go on to some amazing careers and start amazing businesses that have all come from what they've learnt here at Patriot Campers, from the team that I've surrounded all of those employees with. Because I think I've always had a knack for surrounding myself with people that are better than me at what they do. Everybody who knows me knows when I know I'm right, it's very hard to change my mind. But when it comes to things that I don't know, you know, I don't know anything about suspension geometry. I don't claim to be the designer behind Trinamic. I'm the guy that dreamed it up. You know, I'm the guy that had the desire for a product that would work like Trinamic does for the reasons that it does. But I've got a team of amazing people here that put that geometry together. And it comes to everything that we do at Patriot Campers. Electrical systems, sheet metal designs. You know, one of the things that gets me is I've got a team of young engineers here, and they're all young. All the engineers here, I shouldn't say that, they're not all young. The guys that I work with on a daily basis and the ones that I spend most of my time with are the young ones. And they all have gotten to a point that they will far outdo me any day of the week when it comes to design of sheet metal. And that's an amazing feeling. That's an amazing feeling as a business owner. Again, as a founder, I keep using that word, and as a CEO, because that's how I know I'm doing my job. You know, when we're getting these young guys on the production line, coming into the office, learning everything that we know, all the management team around them, and then it gets to a point where it's like, hang on a sec, I didn't think of that. And that's when we know we're building the right team. That's where these products come from. I think it's really ironic that we're shooting this video this week, yeah? And we almost didn't, yeah? We had the discussion with the team that are standing behind the cameras right now and with you only an hour ago that I didn't want to do it because I don't think it's the right thing to do this week. I don't know what happened up there. I don't know if anybody will really know what happened up there. This week, this industry in Australia has taken one of the biggest hits that it's ever taken, you know? We've taken a couple over the past couple of years by losing some amazing brands and some amazing products, and amazing people have lost their jobs. This week specifically, with what's happened in the industry, is it's sad for so many different reasons that people talk about on the internet, but it's sad for the country. It's sad for Australia. You know, is this the beginning of the end? Is this what happens when we continue to allow factories from overseas from producing inferior products that look and maybe feel like something that was designed in Australia? But it's not until, you know, I've said it again before, it's not until you go up the development road in Cape York where you truly see the difference on something that's been manufactured in Australia or manufactured overseas. There's always been a constant battle with us with IP, yeah. Anybody who's, again, follows the brand will notice that from the very start of Patriot Campers, we shot a lot inside of the factory and showed a lot of our manufacturing techniques. And over the years, it just declined to the point that we don't really show what happens behind these doors anymore because it ends up, you know, we go and launch a video or some social media and all the rest of it, and 12 months later we're spending money with the attorneys on fighting IP on someone who's copied it and now bringing it into the country. All Australian manufacturers go through it. There's a really big difference, I think, in, you know, some of the sayings that you'll see Australian made or Australian designed or Australian developed, and you know, you hear that saying, you know, made by off-roaders for off-roaders. I think that it's getting very clouded in the industry, and probably more specifically the caravan industry than the 4x4 industry, because there is so much innovation that's been born in Australia. You know, companies not dissimilar to Patriot Campers that have always pushed the bar and always wanted to drive it a little bit more forward. But the world's changed a lot too, that, you know, the consumable items like imported products, you know, the companies that, you know, and that are coming from countries that don't camp, countries that don't have corrugations. If you go into those remote locations, like up the Gib or up the Telly Tracker across the Simpson, you don't want to be wondering if your trailer is going to make it through. The ST7 and the ST5 are built on the same foundation that all Patriot Campers products are. We don't use any timber anywhere. You won't find tech screws in a Patriot Camper. You won't find timber screws because there's no timber. Even our interior is completely aluminium and powder coated and structurally fastened and bonded to every other surface inside the trailer. And it's just much more of a superior manufacturing process than anything else that's out there on the market. You know, so I think for Patriot and a lot of the other Australian-made brands, majority of the other Australian-made brands, you know, we are the ones that path the way. We are the ones that innovate. We're the ones that fail. You know, the failures cost a lot of money and cost a lot of time. And we pave the way for, you know, substandard products to come out. You know, they might look the same from the outside, but it's what goes behind Australian manufacturing, and not just in the way of the manufacturing techniques. It's the testing and the drive to consistently be better that can only be done by an Australian-made company. There's over 5,000 individual components that go into the build of an ST7, and every single one of those comes with 12 years of history of beating these things through conditions that imported products just can't compete with that sort of history, I suppose. You know, we see things like garden hose being used for water hoses. We go to the extent of doinch plugs on everything that's underneath the trailer. Structural rivets, stainless steel fasteners, stainless steel hose clamps. All of this stuff costs money, and that's the price point that you pay for buying something Australian made. This product here was designed in 2018. 2018, the concept for this thing was put together. You know, me and the engineering team have a laugh about it all the time. It was called the C610, and it's not that different to what you see right here, right now. But we were very strategic in the way that we continued to manufacture and not overextend ourselves. We didn't have the floor space to build it, you know. Looking back at it, I'm really happy that the management team here, that we made some really good decisions. We didn't go and expand and invest into more equipment to go and launch the product behind, because we just weren't ready for it. 7 years down the track, the market settled back down, Patriot's returned to some sort of normalcy. The chaos is less, but it's still chaotic. And now, you know, the industry can say over the past sort of 12, 18 months, we're focused, we're back to where we started. We're focused on innovation. We're focused on new designs, and we're focused on products that Sarah and I are ready for, and that's been the key to it, you know. We've never built a product here at Patriot Campers from a commercial aspect. We've never looked at anything commercial and said, here's the market size, this is what the market needs, this is what we're going to produce. We've never done that, not once. From the P-Core days, Super Tourers, the X range, ST range, and even now into this. Our supply chain always has been and always will be primarily focused. Our first step is, can we buy that product in Australia? Because if we can buy it in Australia, we know it meets Australian standards, we know it's quality, we know it's been tested in Australia. We don't look for imported components, even the things that you can't see, which make all of the difference. This is something that I want. This is something that Sarah wants, this is something that my dad wants, And that's where the design it really differs from anything else out there on the market. With absolutely no arrogance, I don't think anybody could copy what we've done with Trinamic. I don't think that there is another, possibly in Australia, there's suspension systems in Australia that have been developed for camper trailers that are amazing, and they're still around, you know. The suspension system we put in the X-Range. But that came from a family and a family business right here in Queensland in Australia that's now a global success. That, you know, once upon a time designed a suspension system that was state of the art. It's proven itself, it's been refined over the years, and it's now the standard. And this is, you know, these are the things that I'm talking about when it comes to overseas manufacturers. They have access to that suspension system. They don't have the ability to go and develop it, because even if they can develop it, they can't test it in our terrain. Now, like I also said, that's a particular suspension system that was developed 30 odd years ago. I was involved in some of the original laser cutting for some of those components. Times have changed. You know, we're 30 years down the track. There was a time when airplanes only had propellers, hey? You know? There was a time when a company somewhere came up with a concept of a jet engine, and at that time, it would have been a crazy idea. Why would you do that? Propellers are reliable. They want more efficiency, lower cost, higher altitudes, faster speeds. That's what's going on in our industry now at the moment. And Trinamic the industry is now deserving of a product like Trinamic. We've taken it to the next level, you know. For so many different reasons that I'll go into in other videos and more series about the ST7, and I've explained in the ST5 video, conventional trailing arm suspension forward mounted is old technology. There's nothing wrong with it. It works, it does the job, but Trinamic does it better. And that's what evolution of innovation and design, that's the desire that the human race has always had. I made the comment this morning. Why does a Formula One engine cost $20 million? For what reason does a Formula One engine cost $20 million? I can go buy, and I do for my off-road race car, I go and buy a LS3 Chev off the shelf for $12,000, not $20 million. There was a time when that LS3, when that concept was conceived and they did the prototype, it probably cost $20 million. You know what I mean? But the drive of that innovation, fuel injection, you know, injectors coming into play, ECUs, you know, when all of this stuff came out at the start, I'm sure somebody somewhere, they didn't have social media, but, you know, someone somewhere sat around and pub and idiots, why would you want that? You know, this is what we continue to drive at Patriot Campers, and we've always done. At Patriot Campers, we've always taken things to the next level, but three of the things that have always stood out for us in every product that goes down our production line is the focus on the design will always be reliability, safety, and quality. The competition with the other Australian manufacturers feeds the fire, and not one way, it's reciprocal, I can tell you right now. Yeah, you know, I think behind closed doors, I think people will be very surprised to find out how close the manufacturers actually are behind the scenes. We don't go out for beers with each other, but the texts that start going around when a new innovation comes into the industry is awesome. I can't even count the amount of Australian manufacturers when we launched the ST5 or even released the ST7, phone calls or text straight away. Man, that's badass. CEOs of companies, founders of companies, general managers of companies that the public would consider direct competition to us. But that's what fuels the fire I think in any creative, anybody who's creative. You know, you want to be better than the last product you produce, or you want to be better than the guy that, you know, produced something in the same market. And once again, I think that's what continues to consistently drive the innovation. We were out testing the ST5. I was actually out on the trip testing the ST5, and one of the biggest, most predominant Australian brands. I walked out of my campsite at night and there was 20 Chinese guys standing around an Australian-made product. And I'm like, oh, that's a little bit odd. And Ashton was with me. We went for a walk across to see what was going on. I won't say which brand it was, but it was a direct copy of probably the most famous caravan that Australia's ever produced, with no logos on it. I walked up to the VIN plate, took a photo of the VIN plate, and it was Wang Dong Manufacturing Company. I got straight on the phone to the owner of that business. You know, that's the relationship that we all have with each other. I don't have any animosity towards anybody who can't afford a Patriot camper or another Australian-made brand that's at a price point that's outside of their budget. That's, you know, whatever gets you out there. Customers, if you've been into the Patriot Campers showroom and you've met me or you've met me at a show and you've made the comment, I love them, but I can't afford one, I guarantee you'll also would have heard the words come out of my mouth, whatever gets you out there, yeah? It doesn't offend me. It doesn't offend me in the slightest, you know? There was a time, I think the first trailer that I bought was overseas manufactured, if I'm to be brutally honest, because I was at a point in my life, I couldn't afford something like this. But I also think that Australian manufacturing deserves the respect that those products have been off spins of, you know, hard-working Australians that have taken the gamble to innovate and create new products that filter, you know, down the track. There's a really, really famous scene in the movie that Sarah makes me watch all the time. I think Devil Wears Prada. There's a really famous scene in that movie where the girl makes a comment about a Gucci shirt that's worth $600 in the color that it is, you know? And she breaks the whole thing down and talks about how that color makes it into Target and Kmart for the people that can't afford to buy Gucci stuff, you know what I mean? But it's still Gucci's the desirable brand. I don't think I've ever met a woman that doesn't want a Gucci handbag or a Gucci something. They might not be able to afford it. So what we create here, and part of the innovation of what we create here, is we create very desirable products that do things better than the generation of products before in the Patriot Campers range. And that technology and that innovation and that testing, it filters right down to the bottom. So, I mean, really to answer that question, you know, everyone's got a budget, everyone's got a price point. I have nothing against people buying imported products. What I do have a problem against is people cutting down Australian manufacturers for the price point that we are. You know, of course we're in business to make a profit. If we don't make a profit, another 300 people will lose their jobs. When it comes to Australian made, and I think specifically Patriot Campers, there's a saying that says price is what you pay, that value is what you get. And I think for all of our customers, for Patriot customers right around the globe, I think the number one thing that sums that up is every Patriot Campers will always make it home. Everybody at Patriot Campers, and I mean everybody, it doesn't matter what your role here is at Patriot Campers, feels the same pride that I do from wearing the Patriot Campers logo on their shirt. There isn't a person at Patriot Campers that doesn't feel it, because you're exposed to it on a daily basis. Our team, again, hear it on a daily basis. I was putting gas in my car on the way home yesterday and someone saw I was wearing a Patriot Campers shirt and they came up and they wanted to know about the business and the factory and the family and all of those sorts of things. And it couldn't have been clearer for us. This year was a big eye-opener for us with Camp Patriot. That's something that was so long overdue and something I'm so looking forward to, because the community sense of that pride, I always knew it was there, but maybe I just needed to congest it back into one space. And you know, I had a lot of key people from Patriot Campers out here, staff out there at Camp Patriot, and the way that it's changed the culture inside of the business with the reactions of our staff now to our customer care team. Customer care, you know, it's always been a bit of an Achilles heel, yeah? It's a certain individual within the business that can deal with that. When a customer has a bad experience, they're the ones that wear the brunt of it. And it's been very hard to get the culture into the business to really support the customer care team the way the customers deserve to be supported. The founders know it, the CEO knows it, the management team know it, the sales team know it, and the customer care team know it, because they're all on the front line. But now the people out in the factory that may never meet any of those Patriot Campers customers, they know it as well. They feel it, and they feel it from what we did at Camp Patriot. So the direction of the business has definitely shifted, and that sense of pride, I think Patriot Campers lost it for a very small window, a small period of time. But I can tell you right now, we've got it back. We've definitely got it back, and that's what's driving the innovation that you're seeing coming out of the doors of Patriot Campers this year and well into next year as well. Patriot Campers is chaos, absolute chaos on a daily basis, controlled chaos, and that stems directly from the top. And I don't think it's a negative chaos for the people that understand what this thing's really all about, what the brand's about, the culture inside of the business and the drive that comes directly from the top. My two babies at Patriot Campers, everybody who knows the brand knows where my passion lies. My first passion is with my MPD team, new product development, pushing innovation, procuring equipment, finding new manufacturing techniques. That's always been my drive since, for as long as I can remember. And the second part has always been the marketing team. Heavily involved in the marketing through Patriot Games. That happened quite organically from the start. 2013, Justin didn't really know what to do with his hands when a camera was in front of him. But I think it comes out very organically when somebody starts talking about a Patriot Campers product in a positive way. And I compare it to a lot of people. It's like, your kids are always the greatest. They're the greatest in everything. You can have the kid that's benched on the football team, and when he gets a little run, you see mum and dad jumping up and down and cheering, and they'll go and tell everybody about how he was the best one on the field. And so that's always going to come from me, from Patriot Campers. You'll always hear it from me that we're the best at what we do. But I think now, after 10 years of innovating, driving, testing, creating new markets, taking Australian manufacturing to the world, I don't need to convince anybody of that. The brand itself has proven it. The design of the product, look, we can create anything in model space. In model space, we can pluck someone straight out of university or college or out of high school, or even someone with no skills, and we can teach them AutoCAD and 3D software, and they can design pretty much anything. You can download free software now to be able to do that. But to have substance behind a design and really understand the interaction of the design with the end user and with the materials that you use can only come with one thing, and that's time. It's something that you can't buy. You've seen through Patriot Games throughout the years, and we've pulled the curtains back on things that other manufacturers haven't. We've showed you us rolling camper trailers. We've showed you snapping stub axles. We've showed you camper trailers catching on fire. This is the reality of what we do. Remote destination touring is not for everyone. And I think as I get a little bit older, I think I understand our customer a little bit better. We have two definitive baskets of customers. We have the guys that are looking to improve a lifestyle that they're already accustomed to. And we also have customers that have never been in this lifestyle before, but they'll watch all what they see on social media and YouTube and all the rest of it, and they want to give it a go. Now, what we've done is through 10, 11, 12 years now of real hardship when it comes to testing and understanding the product and how to get the product to move through some of the harshest terrain in the world, which is Australia. And it's only an Australian manufacturer that understands that, and it's only an Australian manufacturer that can do that. When we release a little bit more information on what's actually behind the closed doors of what you can see in an ST7, it is so different to an ST5. The complexity of the systems inside this, and I don't mean complexity from a point of view that it's not going to be reliable out in the field, because the complexity is what's going to make the reliability. Some of the innovations that we've put into this thing, Trinamic was designed from day one to be tandem, from day one. And I think it's going to make a lot more sense now to the people that see it, or people that have even been involved in the project that weren't given the entire picture. That Trinamic suspension now riding on 4 wheels, look, there's no two ways about it. 4 wheels is going to be more stable than 2 wheels, and it will be every time, because you've got another axle group there now to share the loads. And I explained it to one of the kids like this the other day. If I sit you on a 3-legged stool and I push you, what's going to happen? The stool's going to lift up in one corner, right? If I put you on a 4-legged stool and I push you, what's going to happen? Nothing. Yeah. So the stability that we can achieve with Trinamic now, and all of the testing and refinement in the valving, the size of the sway bar, the airbag piston taper, all of that development that we've done through ST5 is now transferred into ST7 for the most superior ride out of anything that's on the market, hands down, and I don't think that can be challenged. You look at, even for example, you look at the shock setups that are in off-road caravans, and marketing will tell you twin shocks, bigger bore, and all the rest of it. Well, it's masking a problem, and the problem is unsprung weight, yeah? You look at the shock in an ST7, the shock will tell the story. The size of the shock will tell the story. Our suspension doesn't work anywhere near what a trailing arm does because of the way that it's been designed. And designing out all of the anomalies of fear that people have when it comes to off-road touring. Snapping stub axles, spinning bearings, all of those sorts of things, they're all gone, disappeared, engineered out of the product. And that's the same with the electrical system. You know, we've made a big change here at Patriot Campers when it comes to electronics, and the change has not come from reliability or any other reason. The changes come from the desire to push our product further, and we have to align with suppliers that can fulfill that dream for us, you know? So we've partnered up with Victron and Garmin specifically. We're now very heavily involved with both of those teams. We have engineering from both of those companies plugged into us, and we're achieving things with that system that the market hasn't seen yet. People haven't seen it yet. So there's going to be some very amazing information that'll be coming out over time. We've gone to town on patents as we normally do. And really that's just to protect the imports, you know, protect us from the imports and allow Australia to hold on to, you know, what we've bred. And it's not for just the Monticelvo's sake. It's for the sake of everybody in here that puts the hours in, that's committed to the same drive. They all deserve, you know, I'm the captain of the ship. I've got to protect the tank, you know, and that's what the patents do. And it's unfortunate that we have to waste that much money in protecting something that our government should be protecting for us. The ST7 is, I think, first and foremost, it's more comfort. It's somebody who does the balance that you got to kind of weigh up. ST5 and ST7 will ultimately do the same job. ST7 is going to do it much more comfortably, and the ST5 is going to get you much more remote. Yeah. When it comes to weight and physical size between those two units, there's compromises with both of those. With the ST5, you need to compromise that you don't have the floor space that you have in an ST7. With an ST7, you have to compromise that you're not going to, by physical size and weight, you're not going to have the off-road ability that you're going to have with the ST5. There's obviously and look, that probably relates directly to a couple, yeah? If you're a family, it's really a no-brainer. We still design our products based around what we did with our kids, but with the consideration of the next generation that's going to be coming camping with me and Sarah. Don't want to say it because I'm not wishing for that right now, yeah? But it will come. The time will come, and we're looking forward to it, and Sarah and I are starting to talk about it, you know, hence the reason that the ST7 has been made a 5-berth, you know? It can very easily be a 3-berth, a 4-berth, or a 5-berth. You know, I still have my circle of friends, my close friends that have young families, but not ready for the caravan lifestyle. They don't want to go and sit in the caravan park, and that's what the Patriot products have always been about. That time may come for Patriot Campers, but the time is not now. We're not looking for, the ST7 is not for the customer that wants to go to a caravan park for 6 or 7 days. I think you get a lot more value out of other Australian-made products. Wider, taller, longer, less battery capacity, less off-road ability, probably don't need trinamic suspension, and sure as hell don't need 37-inch tyres. The customer's got to weigh up what they want to do with the product. How do you want to spend your time? For me, everybody knows my time is as far away from people as I can get. And that's what I design products around, and that's what my business does extremely well. We're not looking to compete with the caravan market. The Super Tourer range is not a caravan. It will never be a caravan, and it's not designed to do what a caravan does. If you want the caravan lifestyle, buy a caravan. If you want the Patriot lifestyle, if you want to get lost, buy a Super Tourer. Rob, we can't keep him out of the factory, yeah? To be perfectly honest with you, and I know where that question came from because it's now after hours on a Friday afternoon, and guess who's just walked in behind the camera? Yeah, you can't get rid of him. You know, Dad's obviously excited for the product. So I don't know if it's the right product for Dad. I think an ST5 is still more him. I think he's not ready. I don't think he needs, probably his partner says that he needs an ST7 because she needs the comfort. Well, I think the ST5 is more down his alley. He still wants to go more remote, light, nimble, better on fuel. There's multiple reasons that an ST5 will work better than an ST7. There's not a product that Patriot Campers produces that is suited to everyone. There's not one. There's not a towable available in the world that's going to suit every customer. Our customers they're a unique breed. They're a minority. They're not the majority. They're not caravan people. These are guys that want to spend time with their kids and sitting around a fire in a remote location and conquer something that they thought that they could never do. That's what a Patriot camper will always do better than the rest of the market. This is by a long shot the most successful year that the company's ever had, and not from the accountant's perspective. I think from the perspective of the entire team and the culture here at Patriot Campers. You know, within 12 months, we've completely changed this business into another market. Our X-Range is still going strong. The X-Range will always have a home, and it will always be my baby, and it will always be something that we focus on. And it won't get left behind now that these things are starting to take over. We've launched the ST5 into the production line. We're now in full flight production. The entire line is ST5 now. And we've really produced a line here. 2 weeks time over Christmas, I've got a team of about 20 people coming in working right through Christmas. We're gutting the entire factory and we're relaying out the whole entire factory to a multi-model line. So the production line will take from an X2 all the way up to an ST7. Secondary to that, to the launch of the ST5, we've got the ST7 on the production line. Now granted, this is number one, production number one. We go into full rate production in February, so it's just around the corner. It's only 6 weeks. Over the Christmas holidays, the family, Sarah and me, we're going to do pretty much a lap around Australia in 3 weeks, I think we've got planned. So we're going to go rack up about 20,000 Ks in 3 weeks. We're going to go out to some of the deserts and we're going to hit both coasts of Australia. And that's what we do, and we're looking forward to it. That'll be the big shakedown for the ST7. But the ST7 testing phase is not going to be anywhere near what we experienced with ST5 because we learned so much from ST5. And everything that we learned from ST5, we've carried on over to ST7. That we know that when we put one out to a customer, we have ST5 number one, customer ST5 number one, who just hit 30,000 kilometres. And we're in contact with him on a daily basis. I don't think he's gone home since he picked the thing up about, wow, must be 3 months ago, something like that. And it's a credit to the engineering team here. It's a credit to the production team here, because I'm really happy to report we've had a lot of minor issues, like we expected we would. We've had no failures, touch wood. So I think the purpose for today is to really, everybody's seen the glitzy glamour launch of the ST7. But right now, 2 weeks before Christmas, I'm proud to announce that it's finally here. We're about 3 days away on the production line to finalise the build number one of the new Patriot ST7. It's here, it's real. Patriot's alive and kicking. The future's looking really good for Patriot Campers. We now have much more of a market share than we've had in the past, and that hasn't really been part of the strategy. We've been very opportunistic with the current market conditions that we've been able to greenlight projects that we've been lying around in the books for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Sarah and I are planning a really big trip at the end of next year, and we've done a lot of work in the ST5 and a lot of trips now in the ST5, and we've got the ST5 to the point where it's near perfect, and I've just shifted the whole direction of the engineering team, MPD, and our R&D teams here at Patriot Campers into producing another brand new product that's something that Sarah and I want. So I think it's going to be a very, very exciting end of the year for Patriot Campers when this thing finally rolls off the production line. Since shooting this video, we've actually been reached out by a couple of customers that have been affected by what's happened up on the Sunshine Coast. We had some customers in here that we've helped out. financially to get into an ST7 to help, kind of wear a little bit of the brunt of the financial loss that they've experienced. And we're hearing that there's a lot more that are coming out of the woodwork. So if you're in that situation, contact the sales team here at Patriot HQ. If you've lost your investment into your dream, we'll do the very, very best we can. There may be a product at Patriot Campers that might suit you. If you're looking specifically for a caravan, obviously we can't help out. But if there's a compromise there and something that Patriot can assist, contact the sales team down here, and Merry Christmas to everyone.